Welcome to Guided Listening. I'm Jeff Antoniuk. We have one of the most classic compositions, arrangements, performances of all time. This is Oliver Nelson, maybe not a name that everybody knows as a player the way we know about Coltrane and Oscar Peterson. Oliver Nelson, the album Blues and the Abstract Truth, the song Stolen Moments. This is such a classic. I'm really excited to get into this one. There's so much to dig into. The personnel is so fascinating. I would love to know the story. Does anybody know the story behind this? It's Freddie Hubbard on the trumpet, flugelhorn, Eric Dolphy on flute and alto sax, Oliver Nelson, the arranger, tenor sax player, George Barrow on baritone. So 4 horns, and then Bill Evans on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, Philly Joe Jones on drums. So, the rhythm section had played together some. Fascinating, to have Eric Dolphy or Freddie Hubbard with Bill Evans. It was a really interesting meeting of the worlds, and the voices that we hear on these solos are fantastic. It's just, a fascinating band that I wouldn't think anyone, would get put together or that we would have the opportunity to hear. And here it is. So fantastic. I want to let you know, people have been asking, I've gotten a couple requests recently, and I haven't talked about this in a million years, people wanting to study with me individually. So yeah, I do individual lessons. And of course, with Zoom, we can do it all over the world. So I've had individual private students around the world, most continents that there are. And I've worked with all instruments, including drummers, including guitar players, including piano players. Yeah, I play some piano. Yeah, I play some drums, but it's not that you're going to learn great drum technique from me. Drummers come to me to learn about how to fit inside the music better, how to be a drummer I would hire for my band. Yeah, I can talk to a drummer about that. So if you're interested, I've got, I don't do tons of individual private teaching because I'm busy with Jazzwire. I have 2 spots. Folks generally study twice a month. If you're interested in finding out more, send an email. And, one-time lessons, I do some of that, but I'm really more interested in helping people move down the road, which requires, us doing a number of lessons together. But, either way, we can talk. So I'd love to talk to you, find out what your goals are, and if I can help get you there. And then, of course, and I don't know if I said, I have 2 spots open, 2 twice a month spots. So, not a lot, but it's out there, and I wanted to let you know in case this is something you're interested in. And then, of course, Jazzwire is the place where we don't work together in a one-on-one setting in that way, but we do posts back and forth, one-on-one. And the incredible thing about Jazzwire is how you are interacting with the community. It's like the 8 years of music college that I did together. That's what we created at Jazzwire. So I hope you'll take the free trial. Okay, so let's jump into this wonderful composition. It ends up being a minor blues. It's sort of a longer melody. It's got some sort of extensions to it, but when the solos come, it's a 12-bar minor blues. So, okay, cool. So it's something sort of we know about a little bit, accessible. I talked about the voices. Listen to playing the blues. This is the blues, right? And how different these various solos sound. The arrangement is a whole other thing. It's one thing to write a song, but now how do we get, he picked 4 horns. I mean, Oliver Nelson picked the band, right? Why did he pick these people? Why did he pick those instruments? Great questions. Well, that's what an orchestrator and an arranger does. And then Oliver Nelson's solo is fascinating. It was actually the very first solo I ever transcribed, way back when, in my basement in Canada. It's a very composerly solo. The way sometimes when we hear a Sonny Rollins solo, we can hear how he's a composer, the way he puts together motivic elements in a solo. We hear that with Wayne Shorter some. This is a super composerly solo, maybe overly so, but it is so instructive of how to take an idea and build it. We hear Oliver Nelson just building these structures, these big structures out of smaller structures. Let's listen. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is called Stolen Moments. That beautiful classic opening. And those voicings in the horns, those rubs that are in there. That's what we're looking for, that richness, some nice dissonances. And what is the bass doing? So it's actually a composed bass part. Who has the melody? Well, it's moving around. It was trumpet for a second there, then it was alto sax, or was that tenor? Then it shifted back. Who has the melody here? Well, it's all these horns, but who's on top? Sounds like the trumpet has the melody. Interesting. There's that bass part, not walking yet. We haven't heard any walking bass yet. What's going on with Roy Haynes on the drums? Brushes. And this great moment where the whole band is connecting on those offbeats. Okay, so that's the end of the melody. Second time, solos. And so for the first time, that walking bass, right? Man, swinging. Freddie Hubbard. Listen to how Bill Evans is comping. It's a lot of long sounds. It's very subtle, and he's finding these beautiful colors. He's not playing in a very sort of aggressive, syncopated way. And Freddie's playing in a manner like that. Okay, so there's Freddie starting to swing for the fences a bit. And what did Bill Evans do there? We heard a different voice. He's comping differently in the whatever this is, fourth chorus than he was in the second chorus. Freddie's playing differently in this chorus than he did previously. And it's cool that Roy Haynes is still on brushes. So he's nice and chill even as Freddie's going for it. And did you hear that little fill? So even though Roy is on brushes, he's starting to mix it up a little bit. So he has ways to start kicking things even as he's playing subtly like that. Some Freddie Hubbard sheets of sound. Cool. Feels like the end of the solo. Eric Dolphy. Woo! So he's coming in, playing flute, clearly, and with that crazy double time, and then his vocabulary, that Eric Dolphy sound, right? It wasn't consonant. It was, like a crazy bird just flew into the room. So double time and more. So he's, the shape of his solo is just so much different, right? The density, how he's playing all over the instrument. It's such a cool foil to what came before. But the rhythm section is still kind of staying in that zone. Right? Still swinging. Bill Evans still playing, that really lovely legato kind of stuff. So the rhythm section didn't get all fired up by Eric Dolphy. Eric's kind of doing all that stuff as they're keeping it chill. That's interesting. So I would love to know if that was talked about for the rhythm section, like don't go to sticks. Still not sticks. Fascinating. So here's Oliver Nelson. All these fourths. Fourths. So his whole palette for that chorus was fourths. Different idea. Diatonic triads. Still diatonic triads. Still diatonic triads. Shifting it a little bit, but it's still, the entire chorus was that one idea. Different idea. And again, the band is still swinging like mad, but chilled out. understated, right? So motivic, right? Taking one idea. Those patterns. So that's a big hallmark of Oliver Nelson's playing. Taking one idea and really milking it. How many times does he do this? 12, 14, 18 times? Wow. It's such a cool solo to analyze and think about. And I must say, it's quite atypical. He is so motivic, so patternistic. Now we hear Bill Evans approaching it differently. So think about Freddie Hubbard, think about Eric Dolphy, Oliver Nelson, now Bill Evans. Such different voices. And I mean, of course, they're playing different instruments, but their pacing, their palette, their building blocks, fascinating how we can sound so different over C minor blues. And again, the rhythm section is not getting excited, right? Roy Haynes could pick up the sticks and, quadruple the energy easily. Why didn't he? I think there was a discussion. And back to the intro of the tune. And you hear Paul Chambers not walking anymore, right? And those really great modal voicings with lots of nice half steps in them between these horns. They're really beautiful sounds, but there's rubs in there. It's not all super consonant. In most arranging, we don't want everything to be consonant. That's not interesting. So the melody is like the blues, but not the blues we soloed over. Here we go to a 4 chord, like the blues does. Come back to the 1 chord. And here's sort of the extension in the melody. These great ascending chords, and the band using dynamics, getting louder, getting softer. And here's the end of the melody. It would normally be right here. So here's a little ending they put on. Ooh, listen to that voice. What a great sound. That very last voicing, and we hear those horns rubbing in that half step, but it's functional. It's not that he just kind of picked 2 notes that clank together and I'm going to use those too. So he would look at what that chord was and where could there be an interesting half step or whole step or, all those different ways to voice. And so he chose to end it with that, to me, sounds like a question mark or, a statement like, how do you like that? A little bit, right? So that song definitely was meant to be a mood piece. That's the way I think about it. I think about John Coltrane, I can't even remember which album it's on, Coltrane Jazz maybe, Equinox, one of his minor blues tunes, where the bass doesn't even ever walk, I don't think, on that recording. And the song could blossom into just like the most energetic, powerful thing ever, but they don't do that. They keep it very contained. Here's the mood. This is what it is. We're not going past here. Solos can do your thing, but we're keeping it here. It's such an interesting thing to do, and it's a great thing for a band leader, for an arranger to do on a gig, on an album, is to have a tune like that. Because if every tune becomes, the big Hail Mary pass, the big, just the big colossal feature of energy and whatever. Not every tune can be that. Not every tune should be that. The audience probably doesn't want that, exciting as it is. So this is really cool, and it's a perfect example of how to be swinging like mad, as if you're Roy Haynes and Paul Chambers, right? And keeping the energy there, supporting all these different voices, but also staying a little aloof or a little aside from it, and how great that works. So it's not always about interaction. Lots of times it's not about interaction. If I'm giving a speech, I don't want anyone interacting with me. Right? I'm trying to talk here, right? So yeah, don't interact with me. Don't repeat what I just said. That's super irritating. So we don't want a drummer repeating what we just played. And I don't even want someone commenting on what I say all the time, because that takes away sometimes. So sometimes support is great. Sometimes the conversation is wonderful. But here's an example of no commenting, no conversation. You do your job. I'm going to do mine. Wow, that works great. Okay, Stolen Moments, Oliver Nelson. So thank you for tuning in here. Please share this with folks who you think may be interested in it, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or wherever else you see these things. And as I was saying, if you're interested in getting together and doing some lessons with me, 2 spots. So, I imagine they'll kind of go quickly, but I did want to mention it here because I really love working with folks all around the country, all around the world, and it's easy to do, right? And then, of course, Jazzwire. For those of you that have not yet, you've heard me say it, like 70, 80, 200 times, taken the free trial. Take the free trial, for heaven's sake. Check out what the lessons are about. We have 3 new tunes this week. We're starting in the blue community, Dolphin Dance. We're starting in the red community, Sidewinder by Lee Morgan. We're starting in the green community, Meditation, Antoniuk Carlos Jobim tune. So 3 great songs, and we're digging into their form, the melodic signatures, digging into harmonic ideas and how to handle them. Exactly the stuff you're interested in. So check out the free trial and see how you could work with me and everybody else inside Jazzwire. Have a great week.